And welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Newell, joined by Phil Stacy, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino, all of the Salem News. Big wave to you guys. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. And well, let's begin right here this weekend. We're a weekend away from Christmas. But Matt, what's happening? What's been some of the news in local sports in the past week?
Oh, I don't. Well, quite a few delays, I guess. I think at this stage, the majority of the conference Northeastern is delayed at least something. I'd have to count out every single school, but I think that's safe to say the majority is delayed at least one thing. Quite a few aren't going to start their tryouts until after the holidays on the recommendations of the boards of health, as we discussed last week. And I guess in some ways it makes a lot of sense as far as the virus goes. I think the unseen part to me is that, you're not leaving yourself a lot of time. I listened in on a couple of school committee meetings and I heard a lot of people say, it's only a week, it's only a week, it's only a week. And well, I don't know. I don't know if these people didn't have a calendar handy or what, but it's not. It's a lot more than that. Because if you start trying out in January, then from December 14th, you're talking 3 weeks, and then that's 2 more weeks till you can start playing games. So that's, now you're trying to fit 14 games into potentially 5 or 6 calendar weeks, because there's only 10 calendar weeks in the winter season. So I think we're going to have a shortened season, which is better than no season at all. But I think if you look outside, we get any storms like this in January and February, there goes the neighborhood. You're not getting to 14 games. You're probably looking at 8 to 10, which is good. I mean, hey, great. I'm not trying to be negative about that, but I did sort of tweet out there that I think that, this idea that, it's only 1 more week. It's a lot more than that. I counted 10 weeks from December 14th to February 22nd. So every week you delay sacks 10% of the winter season. And I don't think a lot of people were thinking about it in those terms. So I just kind of vocalized it that way. But, everybody's doing the best they can. I'm not trying to say that people are doing a bad job. I just thought that was an important lens with which to look at this. It may not seem like much time a week, but to me, in the grand scape of the whole winter season, a week is actually a lot more than you think it is.
Yeah. And I noticed some, so a lot of things are pushed to January, as you're kind of alluding to. Nick Kukaru, any news in Gloucester in the past 7 days since we last talked?
Yeah, just everyone started. Well, Manchester Essex hasn't started yet. They're starting Monday, but Gloucester and Rockport have they're ready to go. They started Monday and Tuesday, so they got close to a full week of practice under their belt by now.
Interesting. Phil, any updates from you?
Yeah, I've been talking with some of my hockey people. Obviously, it's what is Nina? What do you have? Basketball never stops on your Twitter handle.
That's it, baby.
I get that's the same thing I think with hockey, where hearing from all kinds of people this week. I wasn't technically working, but obviously wasn't like I'm down at Tahiti or anything either. So I'm happy to talk with anybody while I'm trying to wrap presents and shovel out and things like that. And to kind of reiterate what Willie was saying, we're having some late starts on some of these schools. Was it Swampscott that just voted the other day to delay it until the January 6th, I want to say, where they're going to start. Danvers did earlier in the week where they can't start practicing until the 6th. We knew that Salem isn't going to start practicing until the 4th, although I did get some schedules from Scott Connolly today, athletic director at Salem. So their basketball and swim and gymnastics teams are good to go middle of the month. Bishop Fenwick, I believe, was paused for a week while they're remote learning, but they're still scheduled to start later this month. I mean, they're the one school we have around here, we meaning my newspaper, but I know St. Mary's is as well, starting right after Christmas. So that'll give us a taste of what we can hope to expect for the winter season, some of these various sports. And other than that, I think it's just Peabody basketball that is on a delay right now. Willie, when are they starting up basketball in Peabody?
They're shooting for the 28th, I think.
Okay. But hockey, swimming, gymnastics are all going on right now, practice wise.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. I'm seeing some hockey games being rescheduled, for say like Danvers and Swampscott not being able to play on the 9th or the 13th as they were hoping to. So some of those games are being rescheduled for later in the year. When and where there's dates and ice available. So they're doing the best they can there, but continued work in progress, and hopefully this is just a small speed bump in the road, and we say after 9 to 10 weeks here that, wow, we got through the winter, and hopefully the worst of this is behind us.
Yeah. Nick Giannino, any updates from you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they pretty much covered everything in terms of when sports and schools are starting up. But one positive note I've noticed just from speaking to a few hoop coaches, the numbers, if anything, they're up this year. So the pandemic has not affected that. Seems like kids, they want to get out there, they want to play. So numbers are looking good, at least in terms of basketball. I don't know if you guys have talked to any other coaches across the athletics here, but hoops, just a few coaches that I've talked to for boys basketball, most schools have been they're going to be able to put out 3 teams, a varsity, a JV, and a freshman or a JV2 team. So it's good to see that kids are still coming out to play, and even with the delay here and obviously everything else going on, they want to be out there, they want to play. So just something I thought was pretty cool.
I heard kind of unofficially on one front, and it wasn't the Northeastern Conference, but I'm hearing that fans are not going to be at these events. Does that sound about right to you guys? We talked about that last week. Any updates on that piece at all?
Kind of sounds like it's going to be school by school, Bill, from what I've been able to glean. Some schools might allow, I think, up to 40% capacity. You technically could, in a gym or whatnot. I don't know if anybody's going to do that, but maybe 2 parents for every home player. I don't know if there's going to be any visiting players allowed. I think some are just going to say no fans allowed at all. That might be the case in the Cape Ann League. I'm not positive, where I haven't been in this week, but I know each school is kind of taking its own tack based on what their surroundings are. And, it might even be different for different sports, say like where swimming and gymnastics, it seems like it's pretty much going to be virtual, those sports where you're not competing against somebody else so much as, there might be a judge or a scorer there, and they'll record your times in the pool or scores in gymnastics, and then that person reports it. Another person watching Team B do the same thing reports that, and then we get an outcome in a day or 2 from that. So it's certainly different, but it enables them to play. I don't know if they would allow fans at those venues, though. My best guess, Nick, would probably be a few home fans at basketball games. Yeah,
so I've heard, like you said, it's going to be dependent on the school and the size of the gym. Like, say for a Bishop Fenwick, they don't really have a lot of space in that gym to hold fans and have them be able to social distance and whatnot. But if you're at a school like Salem High, they got a big field house. Beverly, Danvers, some of those schools might be able to squeeze in some more fans. I've heard, like you said, 2 parents and maybe a sibling for the home players, but that's as far as they've gotten. I don't think there's any final word on it, and I do think you're right. I think it's going to be, based on school.
I think that for the sports writers that attend these events, I think it puts a lot of pressure on you guys to take care of the people at the snack bar. These people are not going to have a lot of customers. Reporters are going to have to go there, maybe before the game, during the game, halftime, beyond, whatever. You guys.
Who knows? Who knows? They might not even have the snack bars open. I don't know if that's going to be allowed.
They probably won't. Right. Yeah. But
maybe they can sell like candy and stuff like that, but I don't know if they'll have any hot food like pizza or hot dogs or any of that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Popcorn.
Well, we kind of digress there, but I guess I'm to that piece, I guess. But
We'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
who's to say?
well, gentlemen, we can come back to the sports and the sports scene and some of the things going on. With the snowstorm this week, I thought it might be interesting to get some of your stories about covering a sporting event or being at a sporting event and then having to deal with weather. Because I look back in time and you look at the snow-related sports events in our area, and of course the bean pot from the blizzard of '78 stands out as an event where people got trapped at the old Boston Garden. And then I was just thinking before we started about the Coach Ron Meyer of the Patriots and putting that plow out to plow across the field so they could hit the field goal years ago. And of course, I guess locally, Phil, I know that you cover a lot of hockey. I know traditionally, basketball games tend to get canceled because they're in gymnasiums that are controlled by the schools and there's no rental fees and so on. That if there is big snow threats, those games usually do get postponed with a few exceptions, and maybe it starts to pound snow during the game, but unexpectedly for some reason. But hockey rinks, they tend to want to play a little more than the basketball and these kinds of things. So I'm going to push it over to you. I'm trying to think. You must have been at some sporting events. I'm thinking of the hockey rinks just for starters, where snow played a role in you possibly getting home from an event.
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of a couple right off the top of my head. I'll say this though, it always made me laugh when when it would snow and we'd get some cancellations, and I would see that a ski meet got canceled. I'd be like, wait a minute, they ski on snow. Why is it canceled because of snow? Like that always made me chuckle a little bit that you're getting what you need. I don't know, but I digress myself.
Well, that's because you have to get to the
I know.
to the mountain.
I know. It's just kind of ironic, that it happens that way. Yeah, let me think. I mean, well, I can remember that horrific winter we had, what was it now, 6 years ago, where it snowed every literally weekend for about 9 straight weeks.
Yeah.
And we had, I think it was approximately 621 feet of snow or whatever it was. But I remember
621 feet.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No,
I'm kidding. I remember St. John's Prep playing for the state title at TD Garden, middle of March. I think it might have even been St. Patrick's Day, if I remember right. And, so they beat Malden Catholic. They win the state title, blah, 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 blah. I come outside and there's like 4 inches of snow on my car. And I'm like, is this ever going to end? Like, it just felt like we were encased in ice for months and months and months. And that seemed to me to be, I don't know if fitting is the right word, but a strange way to, walk out of the Garden, triumphant night for St. John's, like I said, end of the season. All right, you start thinking ahead a little bit to spring already, and your car needs to be brushed off and, scraped and all that stuff. Another one was St. John's Prep. I remember going to Malden Catholic and to the Malden Forum in a snowstorm and watching them play. And you're right, Bill. I mean, it really doesn't keep the people away. There was a packed crowd that day. Came out, a lot of snow on my car and all, but game got played. No problem there. I mean, God, Salem State, tons of times have been over there when it's been snowy and lousy out, and they still play because, I think another factor with hockey is you can't just say, okay, we'll postpone today and play tomorrow. I mean, it's all dependent on when there's ice available, what day, what time, who's using it. It's much easier when you have your own gym to say, you know what, we're not going to have this, 11-year-old youth baseball clinic Sunday. We'll push it, but we'll hold it off for a week and we can squeeze the varsity basketball game. And then can't really do that with hockey. So I'm trying to think hockey games I've been to where there's been a lot of snow. Because way back when, I went out to Algonquin for the state gymnastics finals, and I couldn't believe they were still having it because we had about 6 inches of snow, and it kept snowing throughout the whole thing. So that I definitely remember as a young guy. I know there's been a few lacrosse games and even baseball games that I've been to where it snowed during the game, not, what we saw this week, but it did snow. That stood out. And of course, certainly, I think 3 of the 4 of us, sports writers here, have been to football games where it snows. One that really stands out to me there is 2006. And I remember it because it was the end of October. It was right before Halloween. And we got a lot of snow. It was one of those freak storms. And Beverly hosted Saugus. And I believe Pat Bailey, the staff of Beverly at the time, ran for like 200 something yards and 4 touchdowns in the snow. And against the black Beverly uniforms, the snow looked pretty cool. It was tough for Saugus because they were wearing white, so it became really tough to see their uniform numbers at all. But that's another game that stands out to me.
Nick Kukuru, I'm thinking, I don't know where you were at that point, but a Gloucester Super Bowl football game that I was not at, but I think it was on TV, but they had the late game, I think one night years ago at Gillette. I'm not sure what it was called then, but it was at Gillette, and it was pretty heavy snow, if I'm not mistaken. I think that wasn't that a Gloucester game years ago.
It was 2009. Actually, it was myself and our old colleagues Matt Langoni and Rich Slate. All 3 of us were down there in the snow. Started to come down really hard the game before. I think it was Zavarian versus Everett, and then it just got even worse and worse as the night went on. And those 8 o'clock Super Bowl games don't start at 8 o'clock, so that was probably more like a 9 o'clock start in the snow. And it was an interesting drive home from Gillette. The good news was if you're covering Gloucester, they really, that kind of settled the game right there. If they're facing a Bridgewater Raynham team that was pretty balanced, liked to throw, probably needed to throw, and that was kind of it right there. Gloucester just kind of mauled them a bit.
Yeah.
I should say too, Bill, that one of the very first Super Bowl, I think it was the second Super Bowl I covered back in 1992. Nick, you were born, right, Nina?
92, that's my birth year. Yes.
Okay. So I was over at the old Doyen Field in Ipswich when they used to have Super Bowls at home sites. And Ipswich played Hull, and they defended their Division IV Super Bowl title. They won 40-33, I want to say. And the interesting thing there is that it had snowed a ton, like Thursday into Friday morning. So by game time, Saturday, the crews had worked to kind of get the field as clean as they could. Of course, it was a grass field. It was really muddy. Became like you'd think it would be a tractor pull, but it really wasn't. Both teams going up and down the field. Big rings of snow surrounding the field. And what I remember most is that I had done the first Super Bowl I did was the previous year when Ipswich played Dom Savio in East Boston. And I got there, it was a good lesson to learn as a young guy. I got there about a half hour before the game, and I didn't get a seat in the press box. And I was like, oh, are you kidding? Like, I was, late, so to speak. So the next year when Ipswich won, and I covered games in Ipswich all the time, I knew the press box was tiny. So I got there 2 hours before the game started. And I literally never left my seat. So when it got time, when the game ended and it was time to go down and get interviews afterwards, I had been sitting for over 5 hours. And now, as a 51-year-old guy now, I probably wouldn't be able to move. But then as a 23-year-old guy, my joints were stiff and I was like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? And it's because I had been sitting in one place for so long, I was like frozen in that cold ice box. So that's a game. I remember the game as much as the circumstances surrounding it.
I'm sure we all have stories of cold, that's for sure. Being in there and not being able to move around, those kinds of things. Matt, anything from you? Any weather-related events that you can share with us?
I just can remember I think there was a random Sunday morning driving to the Valley Forum there in Haverhill, and of course nothing had been plowed, and wondering to myself, what am I doing here? Is this really a good reason to be on the road to watch a girls high school hockey game? It was one night at Bork Arena in Beverly, there was a big storm, and the boys game that was supposed to start at 6 I think was canceled, and the girls game at 8 went on as scheduled. So out in the snow at 8 o'clock, I think The Patriots had a playoff game that next day. I don't remember if it was one of the Denver AFC title games, maybe, but I remember watching that game with Beverly, Jimmy Coffey, the AD, and Charla, the trainer, and just talking about if we thought the Patriots had any shot the next day because Beverly was up big in the game. There really wasn't much to see there. And then, going home and trying not to slide down that big hill you drive down at Endicott. So, I don't know. Sometimes we like to complain about, why can't they play the games? It's not really snowing. But then, when you get your tires on those snow tracks, sometimes you say, wait a minute, maybe they shouldn't have played this one.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't blame them for postponing things in light of safety issues and that kinds of things.
I think the struts on these school buses maybe play a bigger role in those decisions than sometimes we give it credit for. Not exactly the best shock absorption on those cheese boxes.
All that snow, it's a nice soft ride for those on those yellow school buses. Well, gentlemen, where else should we go here? Unless Nick Giannino, any weather stories to share with us at all?
The only thing I could think of was Phil brought up that, that crazy winter we had. What was that? 2013, 2014, probably. It was snowing like every weekend.
Oh, 15.
Was it 50? Okay,
15,
so I was a
yeah.
senior. So I was a senior, and go ahead.
You know what? That year though, it was when we had all that snow. It was 3 weeks into January. And we hadn't had any snow. And like we were living with 40, 50 degree weather and people were saying, no winter, we're not going to have a winter. Then the switch turned on.
Yeah. So I was a senior in college at the time. And luckily, I didn't have to deal with any of the shoveling. I didn't have to drive because I didn't have a car on campus. I lived in a, on campus housing apartment there. So I didn't have to deal with the snow at all. I remember talking to my dad like every weekend and he's saying, you're leaving me hanging here. I'm doing all the shoveling. But I can remember during one of the storms that year, I was writing for the school newspaper there. And I covered the basketball team at ULO and the hockey team, I might add. But I had to trudge over to the Songus Arena from my dorm in the snow. I remember getting there and just being like soaked, and there was nobody there for the game. Of course, back then they usually played most of their games at Costello, which was like a smaller gym across campus, but they used to have like special games that they would host at the Songus. And yeah, I remember going there. I was all soaked from the snow and my snow boots and snow pants and whatever. And I go in there and not a lot of fans, but in terms of working at the Salem News, I can't really remember anything too crazy.
Did we lose him?
We lost Nick for a moment there. Well, gentlemen, I mean, we can. Any other thoughts on what's coming up in the paper, say this week for you guys, or a note or two from last week in the paper?
We finished running our fall all-star team, so congratulations to all those athletes that we ran this week. I think it was boys and girls soccer as well as field hockey. And we celebrated the fall coaches of the year on Friday. So congratulations to them. And coming up, I believe we have some all-decade teams that we hadn't had a chance to get to yet. So we'll be presenting some of those. And Willie, anything else I should know about? I guess Celtic season preview.
Celtics coming up, starting up next week. Yep. So preview for that. We'll see. Should be a fun season.
Well, and Nick, they open up Wednesday, right, against Pat
Wednesday against Milwaukee. Yep, Pat Connaughton. It's going to be a little different this year. I was reading through the media protocols. All the interviews are going to have to be done by Zoom, which is going to be challenging. No media in the locker rooms, so forget the one-on-one stuff. And it's going to be different, but at least they're allowing media, and it'll be pretty cool.
And the Celtics will be playing on Christmas night too. I saw that one of the games of the week. Yeah.
God, I can't remember who they're playing now.
Nets, aren't they?
Is it the Nets?
Dude, that's sad if I know that and you don't.
Well, I'm a Lakers fan, so
that might be right. Yeah, good old Kyrie. I don't know, Nick. We get to talk to Kyrie. You gonna come up with some good questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be a pawn.
I'll try and outsmart him. Use some big words or something. Trip him a little bit.
Nick, maybe just talk about our local hoop guys in the NBA and what they're up to.
Sure, yeah. Well, obviously we got Pat Connaughton. He just re-upped his contract to stay in Milwaukee for another 3 years. He was originally going to be a 2-year deal, but he ended up getting 3 years out of it and getting a little more money. So they clearly like him
Giannis
over
got the
there.
same contracts, right?
What's that?
He and Giannis got the same contract.
Oh, yeah. A little slightly different.
I'd still take it.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's still, he's doing well. Michael Carter-Williams back in Orlando. Seems like he's found a home there. They really like him. He's a big part of their rotation. And he's looked good in preseason so far. That's it for the NBA guys. But Carter-Williams' younger brother, Marcus Zagorowski, he is tearing it up at Creighton right now. I think they're 5-2. He's had a nice start to the season. They've had some good wins. And Matt Cross, who we haven't really spoke about a lot, from Beverly. He didn't really play his hoop at Beverly High. He went to 3 different prep schools, I think it was. But clearly he's, got a ton of potential. He's starting for Miami right now, Division I. A couple of their games have been on ESPN. So if you're flipping around the TV and see Miami playing, look out for Matt Cross. He's a big guy from Beverly. Should be fun to watch.
And we should say that Scooney Penn is coming in. Salem's own Scooney is coming in with the Memphis Grizzlies?
With the Grizzlies, yeah. He's one of their assistants there. I'm not sure his exact title, but he's with the team. So, and the Celtics do see Memphis this year. So that'll be interesting. Actually, soon, I believe, the 30th, week after their opener, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think he's Director of Coolness. That's his title.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then Tom Thibodeau, can't forget about good old Tom Thibodeau. He'll be at the Garden soon. He's back head coaching with the New York Knickerbockers, right? Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think so. You stole that one from me. I was thinking Tom Thibodeau. Yeah, Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
He was probably coaching Salem State before you were born. Now that I think about it, right?
I think he was.
Yeah,
I think he was. But I got a chance to speak with him last year. Or a couple of years ago now, and great guy. He's got a lot of roots here in the North Shore, and he was happy to talk about his experiences there. So hopefully we can get him again this year when he comes into town.
Former Viking, yeah.
Kooks, does that guy from Gloucester still work with the Philadelphia Flyers and their management?
Yeah, he does. Barry Hanrahan. Yep, he's in their front office. It's pretty high in their front office. I think he just got a promotion recently, the last year or the year before.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, well, gentlemen, you guys have a great holiday, and we'll talk again soon.
Happy holidays to you.
Bill. Happy holidays.
And our listeners, thanks for making
These guys enjoy it.
2020 sporting as we've been able to. So thanks for following along.